Good morning, everybody. It's Thursday, December 28th, and it's another beautiful day here in Arizona. And I'm going to bring in Kiyan Michael. Let's see if she's here. Kiyan?
I am here. Can you hear
Yes. Good morning.
me? Good afternoon here.
Yes, it is. I just want to introduce Kiyan Michael. She is a fellow angel mom, and she is also a Florida state representative. And in her freshman year of being a Florida state representative, Kiyan was able to accomplish unbelievable feats. Congress hasn't been able to do this. I mean, she stepped into office, she took the reins, and she did what she knew needed to happen down there in Florida and got the biggest immigration bill passed in the United States, along with the full support of Governor Ron DeSantis. So that's kind of what I want to go over with you, my Kiyan. But can you tell people your journey and how you ended up getting to be a Florida state representative?
Oh, sure. Thank you for having me, Marianne. I'm honored to not only join your podcast, and congratulations on that,
Thank you.
but honored to have you as a friend. Um, it's not a word that I use very lightly. It's something that I take very seriously when I call someone a friend. And you have been very crucial to a part of this. You've been instrumental in really encouraging me, welcoming me through the worst nightmare of any parent, and that was when I found out about your foundation, the Angel Families, and ever since you've embraced me. I didn't know there was so many of us.
Yes.
Sadly, and unfortunately, because of the current administration, many more than should have ever happened are now part of a family that no one wants to really belong to. And when you think about that, and everything that's happening in our society, and knowing that those families and their loss was 100% preventable, it really does hit you at the heart. It really does hit hard, because we know that families will never be able to accept what has happened. They'll never be able to be what they were before. And when something like this tragedy hits you, and at the loss and the expense of a government that has failed to secure their borders, something that is not only part of our constitutional uh, rights, and is part of the president, or the commander in chief. It is his duty. He's taken an oath. He's sworn to protect us, and he's failed to do that on every level. And it appears to us that he has totally negated that entire responsibility. And so when you know that this is going on, and I think, like so many knew in 2020, when the entire presidential just failure just happened, we knew that Biden was going to do exactly what he said he was going to do, which was open our borders, as if we didn't already have a huge fiasco on our hands. And so it was during that moment, in that time, that I knew, I have to do something. I think we all, who are really true conservatives, who really are true blue blood Americans who love our nation, we know that we have to do something. We feel that urging, we feel that calling. And so, to kind of make it a little bit summarize, I hope you hear me okay. When you feel that push, and you know that although you've been through tragedy, God has given you something to do with the ashes of everything that just tears at your heart. And for me, it was running for office. It was running because I knew, here on the local level in Jacksonville, Florida, is where I live, that although I had been involved, I had been going to our capital, my husband and I, and and we had been speaking in the committees and speaking out about the atrocities and the dangers of open borders, and really willing to put ourselves forward as a living example of what happens when we fail to secure our borders. What happens when there are excuses made on both sides? It's not one party or the other.
Right.
You and I both know it's both sides.
Yes.
I mean, we've had control of all three branches of government and still failed.
Yes.
So,
Miserably.
just going and having gone and spoken out and helped to push, our governor is just a phenomenal man, because he's always way ahead of the curveball. I don't know how he does it. It just who I assume it's just who he is. But even going when he was saying, we will declare ourselves as being anti-sanctuary state, and I don't think people really knew the significance of that then. That was years ago.
Right.
Now we have the states who are just now waking up and realizing they can't sustain what they've already got in motion, what they've already welcomed. All of these people, and they're not seeking asylum. They're doing exactly what it was designed to do. Unfortunately, what Biden and that administration has designed open borders to do, which is invade our nation, and it is quite an invasion. So, having gone and going back and forth to Tallahassee, speaking out in committees, and what people need to know who are listening, I really truly pray that the people are tuned in and that they will go back and listen to this and the significance of what you're doing, Marianne, because it breaks our heart to have to relive the worst day of our lives over and over and over again, simply because we care.
Right.
Um,
What year was Brandon killed? Your Brandon.
in 2007.
And that was the Obama administration.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so we both had our sons killed during the Obama administration.
And what was so bad, it's just something you didn't know. You don't know how widely it happens until it happens to you. And now it's unfortunate that it's just every day. It's an everyday occurrence. And it's so many families who don't even know that that was someone who was here illegally. They killed them, because very often they take off, they run.
Well, law enforcement covers it up too. They don't really
Cover it up.
let the families know exactly all the details of what's happening, because the culpability of this administration and some law enforcement departments, in their far-reaching cover-ups of these types of crimes, are really making it impossible for us as victims, families, and as citizens, and as concerned conservatives, to get the true statistics of what type of crimes and how many they're committing in our country.
Right now we have no idea how many are here.
Mm-mm.
We really have. There's just no way to measure it, because it's just been such an invasion, such a large influx. And they will say majority of them will tell, from what I'm hearing and reading and seeing, they have no intentions of ever leaving this nation.
Right.
So,
Well,
when our son was killed and by a twice deported illegal, um, someone that shouldn't have been here, someone that knew he was defying the law. When you're deported and you come back, you're very much aware that they're defying the law. And we don't take an oath. One thing that was so significant to me with now serving is, when I put forth this bill, when I decided I was so grateful to take this immigration bill. It was such a huge bill, because it's 5 or 6 bills wrapped up into one, literally. One thing that I had to point out when we were debating the bill is that, as lawmakers, none of us take an oath because to the writing that's on the Statue of Liberty, because that's one thing that the left and
yeah.
those that believe in open borders or support it, the proponents for it, they love to quote that, the saying that's on the Statue of Liberty. But that's not what we took an oath to. And I made a point of of saying that, of really making an issue out of that, because we took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of Florida and the United States.
Right.
And everyone who serves, that's exactly what they do in their state. And that's what we have to hold true to. There's no such thing as my truth. There's only one truth. So, it's just when you're faced after Brendan was killed, and just the shock of it, and everything that we went through as a family, it rips the family apart. Your family's never the same. Holidays just, we try and make the most of it, but it's never really totally joyful like it was before. And it leaves a huge hole in the families. And Americans, really, the love for our nation needs to be restored, and it needs to return. And right now, because we have so many that have come from all these different nations all over the world with their cultures, they come with their cultures. And that's what people really need to understand. Just as they have cultures, we have cultures. Everybody has their culture. And it really does not conjoin with the American culture. It's not going to do that unless people decide that they want to become an American, unless they have American and learn American ways. They take the time to value what we believe. Other than that, they come with their flags, they come with their culture, they come with their beliefs, they come with their gods, and it's all just thrown on us. And it's something that people, unfortunately, we're seeing now in New York, in Chicago. They see now the negative impact of it. They see the devastation of it. And then they were welcoming the illegals to come in. Now they're pushing back.
Right.
Now they don't want to be a sanctuary city. Back then, they were, pointing their finger at Florida and calling us everything but the right thing. Because
Right.
the governor said, we will not be a sanctuary city for illegals. And thank God he did.
Right. And he had the foresight to understand what was going to be happening.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's really hard. I was having this discussion yesterday or the day before. And when you see the amounts of money that are being spent on these illegals, these invaders of our country, it's really hard as an American taxpayer to think that we've got tax season coming up, and a lot of us are going to have to be writing checks and know that this is where our money's going. This isn't anything that I want to turn my money over to our government to spend it on. We all work very, very hard. And so this is going to be interesting. But of course, if we don't pay our taxes, we'll be thrown in jail because, goodness sakes, they need this money for all their frivolous spending and supporters of the invaders, right?
What is amazing is just you try to tell this to the average American, and they're totally oblivious. I don't know if you run it. I'm sure you hear the same thing, or you experience the same thing. You encounter the same thing. Is that they're totally oblivious to any of this going on, and we don't want to be experts of it. We would much rather have our child here and be oblivious too.
Amen.
Like, we're here, and we're going to do something with what we're left with, as awful as it is. The memories of our children push us forward to want to just avoid another mama, another family from going through this. And we blow the clarion call, and then there are Americans who don't want to hear it. They put their fingers in their ears because it challenges their beliefs and what they know as being a safe country. And now they're recognizing they're not safe. They're recognizing it doesn't matter whether you live, in a small town in the middle of nowhere, nobody even knows where you are. Oh, they'll find you. I mean, they are everywhere. They're busing them, they're flying them, they're shipping, however, all over the United States.
Right.
So,
people are living in a bubble, and they don't realize, when you see the amount of people on sidewalks and you read these articles about the amount of Americans. I think they were saying that there's like 673,000 homeless Americans right now. And our government this administration could care less about those people. they're more in tune and worried about housing these illegals. And that's a very sad thing to me. But I was talking to my cousin's wife. They live in a very small town in Nebraska. And I was asking them, have you been affected by this yet? And she said, well, no. You know, they live in a farming community where it's family run farms. And if they hire anybody to help on the farms, it's local people, the people that they know they can trust. So the illegals are not drawn to those type of communities because there's no work for them. But you know, you go to these small cities or small towns where they've got the meat processing plants, and that's where they, you know, thrive. They go into those communities and take over the economy, and those Americans are left without jobs because they can hire these illegals for much less money.
You know, and we're seeing the evidence, the truth of that, really, in what the people, the citizens of inner city of Chicago are saying. You know, they're
Yes.
in New York. They're now waking up. They're seeing it. You know, and now I hear that the Atlanta mayor is welcoming the illegals there. So it won't be long before she'll be singing. I'm pretty sure. My bet would be she'll be singing the same tune as Chicago and New York and other states are finding out, because what they're recognizing is what we've been saying all along, is that it impacts it impacts our economy. It's so many different ways that we're impacted, that we're in a negative way. It's nothing good coming out of this, because drawing them here is not it's not safe for them to even make the trek here.
No.
It's not safe for babies, these little kids, to make the trek here. And how many die along the way, we don't know. I mean, we may never know. However, if we remove, and this was really the purpose of the premise behind HB 1617, which I carried here in Jackson, in Florida, in the Florida State House, the immigration bill, and SB, which was the Senate version, 1718. The premise of that bill was, we remove the incentives that draw them here, and that should reduce them actually coming here. Because when they can't get a job and they can't get benefits and they can't sit on welfare, somehow all of a sudden their asylum, you know, maybe they're not hurting as much as they thought they were, and somehow they're ready to move on. And we have numbers that have actually, you know, we're seeing the evidence that it actually works, because, you know, they don't want to come when they can't just sit around and just take advantage of our taxpayer dollars, as you were making a point of earlier. Because when you have somebody who is 60 years old, 70 years old, crossing the border, they're not going to work. I mean, how much working years are you going to get out of them?
Right.
So,
And you hit, I mean, I was going over the bill again last night. Of course, I had read it when you got it passed because I was so proud of you, and so I just couldn't even believe what you went in as a freshman representative and were able to pull off. I mean, you know, you're a bigger thing to me than the people in Congress, just the job that you're doing there in Florida. But you know, you hit all of the things that are really going to hurt illegals there in Florida. The e-verify, you know, that's required with employers, suspends licenses of employers who knowingly employ illegal aliens, enhances penalties for human smuggling, provides $12 million to continue the unauthorized alien transport program to relocate illegal immigrants to sanctuary jurisdictions, bans local governments and NGOs from issuing identification documents, and invalidates all out-of-state driver's license issued exclusively to illegal aliens, and requires hospitals to collect and report healthcare costs for illegal aliens. I mean, like you said, this is the most comprehensive bill. I mean, there's many more things in the bill than this, but those are the highlights. And how did you come to this conclusion and figure out all the components to put into this bill, Kiyan?
I was very blessed because I had a working history with our governor, having been involved. And this is what I tell people when they say, you know, what can I do to make a difference? There's a lot you can do. Some people can make phone calls. Some people can send thank you notes, or they can help raise money behind the candidate, not necessarily the party, because we've figured out that doesn't work. It doesn't, necessarily get to the candidate. It's not going to get to them. I mean, you really, I'm a proponent of you donate to that candidate. But one of the things I tell people is really consider running for office. If it's something that you really have a passion for, and you really are willing to put in the hard work, you can make a difference. If not, go to the committee meetings, get involved in that way, because we have so much of the negative that comes in. So just putting this bill together, the governor knew my heart. He knew that he could count on me to work hard to get this passed. He knew that I would give it everything I got, because I've worked with him before. And, one of the things I want to point out is that we tried in Florida. It has been tried previously to pass E-Verify, and it would fall. It would just fail somewhere along the line. It would be killed somewhere along the line. And that's why I say it's both sides. It's not just the Democrats,
Right.
So that tells you a lot. When we could not even get E-Verify passed, I've sat in committees and spoken out and told our story and just trying to get this thing across the line. And then you see all these different changes happen at the last minute. It would change who the representative is, change the meeting date, just anything to try and really make it difficult to pass. So for me, it was the memory of our children, not just Brandon, but your son, and all of the Angel families, all of us, the
Right.
memory of them. And I always carry the band that has as many of their bands that are in memory of them. Their wristbands that a lot of us have made in our children's memory. Excuse me. I always try to carry that with me, that I have on a huge hook, as a memory, as something to keep me focused of why I'm doing what I'm doing.
It's a big visual.
I'm sorry.
It's a big visual reminder, and it hits people.
And and then you just fight with everything that you have. And so, I begin with the governor just having he just had this, he believed in me, and he had this drive to do what is right. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't know. I think they think, something is he's just too good to be true. No, this guy is real. And so and I know that from working with him so many years. I know that he wanted E-Verify. He knew that it was something that we needed. I knew it. And just getting elected into office and he helped so much with me getting elected into office. When nobody else would help me, he helped me.
Right.
And once I got there, I knew that's exactly what I'm going to do. I know that I'm going after everything immigration. And I'm not a one note representative, because I do have other bills that I work on that have nothing to do really with immigration.
Right.
But this was my baby, and this was my thing that I took on, because I knew, we've got to make a change. And now I'm having calls from other states that want to know, how did I do it? How,
Right.
How did you put it together? So just knowing what we go through as a family, and being able to work with the Senate side, and being able to have the ear to the governor, to the governor's people. And also, we've got a great speaker, Speaker Renner, having his ear, and being able to speak to him and just say, I think this needs to be there, or we need to do this part, or we need to include this. Because we know, just being victims of, our children being victims, our families being victims of the fallout of illegal immigration. We know exactly what they're after. Other people can't see it coming, but we know. We know that they're after. We know that they want the jobs. We know that they want to be able to send money back home where they come from. They don't want to have to pay taxes. And that's not all of them, because we do have some that are here to work hard, and they want a better life for their family. But when you have 5, 6, 7, 8 million coming,
Right. Unsustainable.
You cannot sustain that. We're no longer our own nation.
Right.
Without borders, we're not a nation. And so, just from what you've gone through, what we've gone through, and what draws them here. And we see the destruction because they do have a different ideology, they have different cultures, beliefs. We know that human sludge.
They can't read. They can't read the street signs when they're driving. They go into any place to get help, and they need somebody to interpret for them. And we used to only deal with Spanish speaking people, but now how many people in different languages are arriving in our country who don't know English? And we don't know these languages that they're speaking. How are we going to communicate?
For instance, and my son's case, and I pointed this out when I was presenting this bill and debating the bill. The illegal that killed him could not read the street sign, but he's driving,
Right.
and had been driving. He was driving when he was deported the first time, came back, still driving. We know he was here at least 7 years before he kept going until he killed my child. But he said that he did not know he couldn't make a U-turn at that particular intersection. And people don't think about that. They don't realize, they don't see the fullness of it. That, why would I go to another country? Why would I go to France and try to drive in France, and I cannot read the street signs? I don't know the laws.
So you got to question, how are these how are they obtaining driver's license when you and I have to take a test and have a full understanding of A, how to operate a vehicle, and B, to understand the road signs and what they mean? How are they passing these tests and getting a driver's license? Because they're not having to take a test, just like they don't have to go through TSA screening at an airport. There's all of these easy routes for them to take, and ignoring the laws and the systems that we have in place. They do away with all of that for these people.
Yeah, and here in Florida, you have to have your birth certificate. I don't know about in Arizona, and it has to be with the raised seal. It can't be a copy.
Right.
So, American citizens, we're held to the law, but they're not. And it's deplorable. And the only way we will make a lasting change is we have to get involved. We have to have our hands at. We cannot stick our head in the sand and say it's over. I don't see how it's ever going to turn around. We have to believe that we can make a change, and we can together, that we can work together and to save our nation and to change things around. And I'm not done. I have to tell you, Marianne, I am not done. As
I
big
know you're not.
as big as this bill was, and it was a heavy lift, especially for a freshman when you could barely. I'm just trying to figure out, how do I get to my office?
Right.
And there, here in Florida, and every state is different, but the one thing that remains true is that there is a right and there is a wrong. There is justice and there is injustice. And that we have to fight for what we believe. We have to fight for our nation. We have to fight for our states. I do believe in the power being returned back to the states, because we can see in DC, they don't get anything done.
Right.
But here in Florida, E-Verify really captures like 90% of the employers. It really does, of the employees. It captures them. Majority of them, it is able to capture a good picture and a good accountability of who's hiring these illegals and stopping it. And if they decide to break the law, if the employers decide to break the law, they can lose their license. And believe me, I had some even on our side, on the conservative side. They were not happy. Representatives that I have to work along with, they were not happy with it. But you know what? It's the right thing to do.
Yes.
Because it's not about their profit. That's a human life that they're putting in jeopardy. Those are human lives. And the bottom line is, and you know it to be true, because I know here, I wanted to know, who did this guy work for that killed my son? What employer hired him on the day that he killed my son, and he was going to buy paint on his lunch break. My son's going to cash his check on the same lunch break, same hours. I want to know who that employer was, because
Right.
doggone right, I'm going after that employer. And that's how people feel. And that is absolutely correct. They should be held accountable. Absolutely.
Yes.
They don't want the accountability. They want the profit.
Right.
They're driven by profit,
And how
it's
many of
all,
these illegals are being paid under the table,
oh,
so that these employers don't have payroll taxes. And, it's a much more deep-seated thing of why these employers do this, right?
oh yes. I mean, you know, they know that they don't have, there's no accountability, and really it's almost like common day slavery. People don't want to call it that, but that's what it is,
Yes.
because they don't have to pay them decent wages. I don't think that's right.
No.
Regardless of whether you're illegal or legal, these are human beings. If we care so much about them, then why are we paying them these crumbs? If we care so much about them, then why don't we take time to teach them how to become an American citizen?
Well,
But
because the majority of them don't want to be an American citizen. They're just here to make money.
that's
And,
exactly.
and I sent you yesterday that you and Bobby, your husband, I sent that text where it shows the amount of remittances that go out of this country, and over $200 billion per year in remittances is sent overseas. So this is the money that these illegals make at these jobs that they shouldn't be having anyway. And they send the money home. So it's taken out of our economy and it's going to their home countries and stoking their economy. And in the majority of cases, well, now because of the magnitude of illegals here, almost every country that is getting American foreign aid, they actually get more in foreign remittances that their citizens who are here illegally working. The remittances total more than the foreign aid that the United States sends those countries.
Yeah,
And so then we got to think about Jacksonville's community. If there's illegals working there, and what are happening to the Jacksonville residents, and with the magnitude of illegals that are coming in, how many more Americans are going to be losing their jobs, Kiyan, across the country?
exactly right. And it was so interesting to me. It was intriguing to me when I'm debating this bill, HB 1617 in the House, and I have the Democrats, that are fighting me. They're fighting me down tooth and nail. If somebody, I tell you, I hear people telling me that was really a battle. They tuned in just to see that because they kept hearing about it, you know. And one of the things that they kept saying is black and brown people. It's going to hurt black and brown people because we know everything is about race, you
Yeah.
know, with certain classes, with that, particularly with them, and so. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, I'm brown, I'm black, whichever, pick your pick your poison, whichever way you want to call me. So either you think I'm invisible, you can't see me, I don't know what's going on here. But the reality is that's who it will hurt the most. Is the exact people that they're trying to say this is going to hurt them from getting jobs. No, it's going to hurt us who are American citizens who
Yeah.
happen to be black or brown. That really, skin is that's just a tool that they use. I mean, it's nothing really. It's going to hurt the black and brown and minority community the most because we're competing for the same jobs. And
Right.
this is what the citizens and the people of Chicago, American citizens, are saying. They're now waking up. And not only are they waking up to that, but now they see that their voting bloc, their voting power as a people is in jeopardy.
Yep.
They're just now getting it. They're just now, it's like the light bulbs are coming on. And we have family there. We've been screaming this for years. This is why we fight. They know what happened. They know Brandon. They know what happened to us and all of that. But it's amazing until it hits people personally, until it's in their community, until they see that, You no longer can get the benefits that you used to get because we got to give it to illegals. We got to put you out of that apartment, or that you're living in, because we got to put illegals in there. Now they're waking up. Now it's hitting them. Now they're seeing that they are no longer the minority of choice. And I've been saying that. I've been screaming that.
Well, Democrats like to say, it's the tactic of fear. If this bill is passed, it's going to affect communities of color, and we're going to be the worst impacted in the country. No, if you don't pass this bill, your communities are going to be affected.
That's right.
The bill is what's needed to protect the American citizens and every community. And regardless of skin color, it's the bills that are needed to protect American citizens, period, all across the board.
And why is that such a problem? In America, why is that such a bad stigma behind it? To protect American citizens, and to protect our way of life, to protect the sovereignty that we have as a nation that's being destroyed day by day by day, to protect our jobs, to protect our quality of life, to have something to leave for our grandchildren and their children,
right,
that they can be proud of. And when I think about even the portion where we now, and I know that this is happening because I actually went to the doctor. Now, this is supposed to be only in emergency rooms, but I think that they've expanded. It's been expanded. But I actually went to the doctor for a routine check, or probably because it was they sent me over to urgent care. The DNA, just asking the question, are you here legally, or are you a legal citizen of the United States? And that was a big fight on the floor. They felt like that was an invasion of their rights. And I'm thinking, if you're not an American citizen, what right do you really have? I mean, why do you have rights over my rights? I need to know. And the premise behind that was, we're not going to deny them emergency care, because we are human beings. But we need to know, we need to capture how much money is it costing the state of Florida to take care of, to provide medical care to these illegal people, these people who are here illegally. We need to be able to capture that, because we have no idea. None of the states have any idea how much it really is costing them.
Just like the crimes they commit, we don't have any idea.
We don't have
all of this stuff in the shadows, but I'm so tired of people finding ways to be offended. It's like that energy would be better spent in figuring out ways to help this country get back on its feet.
Exactly right. And it could not be done without American citizens, politicians who are fighting to keep us from turning away from doing things the wrong way. It has to be. Part of the problem is that we have too many American citizens who are here for the wrong reasons. People who are in place, who are in office for the wrong reasons. That's part of the problem. Yeah. Because, if we really cared, I think back to just when 9/11 happened, and just the camaraderie of the spirit of America, how that tragedy brought us together. All of a sudden we were one. Everybody dropped what they were doing, and people were nice everywhere.
Yes.
And kind and cared about one another. So we're very capable of being that way. And now, we have it flipped to where it's about the dollar for a lot of people. It's about, maintaining their whatever they have that's important to them. And negating the fact that this is America, and we are a sovereign nation, and we do have rule of law. We are governed by the rule of law. And we do have a constitution, and as much as it looks like it's being melted down, it's still standing.
Correct.
And that's where we need people like you, like me, who are willing to put it all on the line, because they throw everything at you when you run, to stand up for the sovereignty of this nation, for what this nation was founded on, for the founding fathers who sacrificed everything, for people who have died. My husband, who's fought, people like him, for this nation.
Right.
And so, we talk about the DNA portion of the bill, where they collect DNA in the emergency rooms, and that was a fight. They didn't think that was right, and I'm thinking, you know what? It's important to parents like the One Angel family we have, who I think it was it Vicky's daughter that was killed, and the illegal just disappeared.
Yes. Still hasn't been found.
Still has not been found.
Mm-mm.
Yet this woman was left, her daughter was killed, and she's left to raise her daughter's babies.
Right.
At that time, they were the babies, and they're without their mother.
Right.
But how much of a difference it would have made to have DNA on them. So
Yeah.
at least we know who he is. But every step
And,
of it,
and it shouldn't just be the emergency rooms that are collecting it. I think that they should be able to collect it when they've committed a crime and have it in a database.
absolutely,
know?
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And it's,
Because they change their name, they change their identity, like we change our underwear,
And-
when they're here, especially if they're criminals.
what I remind people of, when they cross that border, they find all kind of IDs just laying around. We don't even know who the people are. They just
Mhm.
make up names.
Yeah.
And they're
Well,
here.
and there's cases at the airports right now, Kiyan, where a woman, she went out on social media and was talking about the fact that there's illegals that were just almost the whole flight with her. But the one woman was showing her paperwork, and that she got through TSA without a name. It said name not provided. That's what was put under her name not provided. And TSA let her through.
But we couldn't do that.
No.
There's no way. We couldn't even, they're not going to let us get near a plane without knowing who we are. Proven
Well,
identity.
what we witnessed when we were down in Texas leaving there.
Oh yes. And so just representing this bill, having this bill, debating the bill, and there's a ferocity that comes on you, because it's like, how dare you? How dare you? As a person that has not paid the price that I've paid, dispute and argue with me about something that's necessary to protect even your family. Your children deserve.
And that's what we're fighting for.
Yes.
Is other American families, because our children will never be brought back into our arms.
Cannot come. They'll never be back.
No.
We'll go to them, but they're never coming back to us. But
Right.
they will fight. I mean, there's that fight of, what is this? Thinking about the person who's here illegally, and how important it is for us to help them.
Yeah.
And
I watched those hearings as they were happening, and I was texting Bobby and just so upset at some of the Democratic representatives there in your here on the floor when you were arguing it, because of how ridiculous their arguments were. And it was like they were just trying to stretch it out as long as they could and just blabbering out of their mouth, saying the most ridiculous nonsense. But some of the statements they were making, and I'm thinking, you're a Florida state representative, and the words that are coming out of your mouth are not in support of your constituents who you are representing. You are actually speaking in support of illegal aliens in our country.
the word illegal, they keep changing the word. Now they call them migrants. It's like as if that's going to change the fact that they are illegal.
Right.
They're here illegally. And I think you sent me something. Was it New York, where they're able to now carry? I didn't even know that they could become police officers.
That's in Los Angeles. Yeah.
Los Angeles. Oh my gosh. Now they can carry weapons.
Now they're allowing undocumented migrants to become police officers in Los Angeles. And because they were not citizens, they didn't have the right to carry a gun. Well, now the LAPD has changed their policy. And so they're not only able to carry a gun on duty, but they're able to take that duty gun home with them and have it on them at all times.
Unbelievable. How
Right?
could that even be right? I mean, how could that? How
And
could,
they're police officers enforcing our laws in the United States, and they're not even citizens.
which I'm sure they don't even know the laws. You know,
It's crazy.
it's like, but only in California. I mean, really, in California, I don't know. I'm sure you watched that debate that I watched, and it was like, wow.
Yeah.
Newsom is out there further. He's further gone than I thought.
Well, and it's understandable why their state's in the condition that it's in. And, you've got that district attorney, George Gascon, and he was actually a former Mesa police chief here when
Oh,
Brandon was first sworn in as an officer. And I knew just by the few times I met him back then that he was a sanctuary kind of a guy and kind of a rogue dude. And then he left here and he went over to California, was a police chief in some smaller community. And then when I saw that he was running for district attorney, I was just like, oh my goodness. I mean, he's just a bad player. And there's another police chief uh, that was just recently the Mesa police chief, and he basically left. The Mesa Police Association voted no confidence in him, and he was Hispanic, and he ended up going over to California, and he's a police chief over there. I'm waiting for the day when he's going to be a DA, coming up through the ranks and being a Soros-backed DA and creating more havoc there in California. It's interesting when you watch how these people move around and take their evilness and their agenda from state to state and county to county.
and it just proves that as a party, we've got a lot of work. There's a lot of changes that must happen. Should have already happened. I mean,
Yes.
because it's just pathetic. We shouldn't be on the losing end of any of this. We shouldn't, none of this should be happening. And I'm very grateful to live here in Florida. Um, but we've got to fight to maintain what we have, and what the push that the governor has made, and the advances that he's made. And he's unapologetic, and we have to fight, because one day he's either going to be in that White House or he's going to be on to something else.
Right.
And it'll be somebody else sitting in that.
It was a perfect time for you to become a Florida state representative and know that you have the ability to pass a sweeping immigration bill, because you have a super majority of conservatives there in the House and the Senate, and you've got your strong conservative patriotic governor Ron DeSantis. So it was the perfect timing, and
Yeah.
God's hand was playing in this somewhere, Kiyan, because he knew you had the fortitude to go in there and do this.
And one thing that I love about this bill is the money that was provided in the budget to transport them out. Who would have known that would be such a fight? Or I like also the part of the human smuggling, that if you cross the state line with 5 or more people and they're illegal, yeah, you could be charged as a human smuggler. And I'll never forget the fight of that thing on the floor, because one of the opposite caucus said, so grandma who's trying to take her family to church could be charged as a human smuggler. And then somebody else was saying, so and they made it about a church, about church people, which I already know was a fallacy. This is just something that they're just trying to pull on the heartstrings and make it seem as though I'm against church.
Yes.
But the answer just came back to the same thing, plain and simple. If you are driving around with 5 or more people and they're illegal, yes, you could be charged. Yes, you could be charged. It doesn't matter. Any group of people, you can be charged as a
You could
human.
be headed to the grocery store. You could be headed to the movie theater. You could be heading to the beach. It's not just because you're going to church, right?
Are you gonna? It's kind of we laugh about it, but it's sickening. It's just we're making common sense laws. Is what we're
Right.
having to do. Unfortunately, but this was a big thing. It's made a huge impact, In Florida, we see the evidence of it. I thank God for Numbers USA deciding to come and give me an award. I was happy with they could just mail it. I didn't want the attention on me because
That was a
this,
lot of hard work, girl. A
but
lot of hard work you did.
I'll tell you, I was exhausted when I was done. But and it was a heavy toll for a freshman because you really are just trying to figure out what the heck is going on. you know
Yes.
but
Yes.
I'm thankful to them. I'm thankful to James Massey and his team and his crew to fly all the way here to Florida. And they were very gracious to my office because we had to change the date so many times because that's the life of a representative because we're stretched all over the place. We're busy. We're all things just change. You got to be here, and all of a sudden this changes to that. And Numbers USA was really. I just want to say that they were a blessing, and because they were able to provide accurate data to me that was crucial in passing this bill because you have to make sure the information that you provide that you're putting out is right. Is
Right.
that that you can stand on this, that laws can be made on this. And so
And that's a type of organization that people need to donate to is Numbers USA.
Numbers USA
They
and
are, you see some of these other ones on the outskirts, like Fair and different ones, but they actually get a lot of their information from Numbers USA. They're the ones who are really the powerhouse in gathering the statistics and digging and getting the information we need. And the one thing that I hope for Florida, which is so lacking, not only on local levels in every state, in cities, counties, states, but with our federal government, is that the laws are upheld. That as the future goes on in Florida, that this bill and the laws that the great governor, signed into law, that they're not ignored or pushed to the side or no longer enforced because we had SB 1070 here in Phoenix or here in Arizona that Russell Pierce passed. And although a few things were taken out by the Supreme Court when it was challenged, the backbone of that bill still stands. But a lot of the law enforcement here in Arizona doesn't even know that some of those things that are still standing and they're not enforcing it. And a lot of it has to do with illegal immigration.
you know
So we have to pray that Florida continues to uphold this huge, immigration bill that you passed.
you make a good point because it's something I've really been thinking about. It's something I wish our party would kind of focus on, and maybe someone is thinking about it somewhere. But it's something that I've really that's been pondering. It's been in my mind because it's great to make these bills and something so significant like this one, this immigration, uh, that totally reforms and reshapes how we handle immigration, and it gives power back to the state. But how do we maintain this? How do we, years from now, how are we making sure that accountability is held, that these laws are enforced? Because we can make laws all day long. That's the easy part. I mean, it's a lot of work, but that's the easy part. It's the enforcement of it.
Right.
I don't want it ignored. So I've really been thinking about that and thinking, what can we do as a state to make sure that the enforcement continues? And we've got a great um, attorney general here, Mooney. She's fabulous. We have great sheriffs here. The governor has been great in coming up with this idea that if the other states, the blue states that want to be crazy, they don't want to honor the law enforcement, we'll give you a bonus to move here. So we've been able to recruit some great people. I mean, really, because all they want to do is their job. That's
Right.
all they want to do. And
Yeah.
so,
I mean, any officer, Border Patrol, they take this oath to protect the
um,
country, protect the communities. And then when they're given direction by the administration or by their police chief or sanctuary mindset of mayor and city council, their oath is completely, obliterated and they're not able to do the job that they want to do.
that's right. And that they're bred to do. I mean, it's in them. It's
Right.
it's in their bones. To kids know when they're little that they want to become a policeman. They have a sense. that they want to do law enforcement of some sort. And they're focused and they start making their career goals in schools focused around that. And
Yeah.
to have that just stripped away because now we want to become, a seeker friendly society and not have lawlessness, which is godliness, is what it is. I mean, it's just not right. And majority of Americans, that's not what they want. That is not what they want.
No.
So we just got to keep fighting. We've got a lot of work to do here. I pray that you're elected there, and we're able to just join forces around the United States to fight back. And of course, we've got the big election coming upon us for presidency. But we've got a lot of work. We do. I pray that what we've done here in Florida is celebrated and is welcome and is adopted in other states, because I think people now are seeing, you go in the whether it's the grocery stores or clothing stores, and you hear every other language except English.
Yeah. I know. It's very, very sad.
We know.
We've got to wrap this up, but I just want to say I'm so honored to call you my friend, and I'm so proud of you and what you've done there, and the accelerated path you've taken from when I first met you, and all of the things we had our little conversations about. It's like you're in a position and you're actually making it all happen. You're making a difference, and I'm so thankful you came on the show today and shared with our followers and our viewers exactly what's happening down there in Florida. And why don't you give out your email in case anybody wants to get in touch with you, Kiyan? Are you there? Did I lose you? You're muted. Can you hear us? All right. Well, I'm very, very happy that Kiyan joined us today. She's a very dear friend of mine, a fellow angel mom, and that's how we met and got to know each other. But if you have any questions that you may want forwarded to her, since we were unable to get her to give us her email address, you can always send them to marianne@cactusconservative.com, and I'll make sure that I get those questions to her. And thank you for joining us today, and I hope you have a great rest of your week and the weekend, and I will see you next Tuesday.